You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, a federal judge in Springfield hands down a 20-year sentence to a former Joplin Middle School teacher.
Tanya, that is no joke right there. You give me a start like that in late November, headed into a holiday, and no travel concerns, you guessed it. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, National Guardsmen welcomed home after months-long deployment just in time for Thanksgiving. All that and more coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. A former Joplin Middle School teacher will spend 20 years in prison for enticing a minor to engage in sex. Federal judge in Springfield handed down Amanda Schweitzer's sentence yesterday. Those 20 years will be served without the possibility of parole and will be followed by 15 years of supervised release. 13-year-old victim, who was a student of Schweitzer, reported Schweitzer sent nude photos of herself to the victim and had sex with the victim on at least 2 occasions. Kevin Strickland has been behind bars for more than 40 years, but on Tuesday, the 62-year-old who maintained his innocence for the duration of his time in prison is free. Missouri judge yesterday ruled that Strickland was wrongfully convicted for 3 murders. Jackson County prosecutor Gene Peters Baker and other legal and political leaders worked to free Strickland because they said evidence used to convict him had been recanted or disproven since his conviction in 1979.
I have changed. I'm not necessarily angry. It's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I think I've created some emotions that you all don't know about just yet. I'm gonna have to put a name on them. I've interacted a bunch: happy, joy, sorrow, fear. You know, all those. I'll try to figure out how to put them together. But yeah, I think I've created a couple that y'all don't know about yet.
Attorney General Eric Schmidt fought Strickland's release, saying he believes Strickland is guilty. Strickland was convicted in the April 25, 1978 deaths of 21-year-old Larry Ingram, 20-year-old John Walker, and 22-year-old Sherry Black. Well, this week is one of the busiest for travelers. Last year, due to COVID-19, not many people were flying over the Thanksgiving holiday. Well, the Joplin Regional Airport says that's changed this year. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the airport's manager and a traveler.
The Joplin Regional Airport says they're preparing for a surge of travelers this holiday season, something they're already seeing during the week of Thanksgiving.
We are seeing fairly substantial loads going out of here. Started last weekend, and we'll anticipate those through the rest of this week.
The change was even more noticeable for those traveling.
I've been flying since before 2020. It was more packed than last year for sure. I got to my gate fine. In Chicago, it's a little different. It's a lot busier than the Charlotte airport. So I had about 10 minutes to get to my connecting flight. That was hard.
This is a major shift from last year, according to airport manager Steve Stockham.
Last year, we were in the middle of a pretty high COVID peak. There was a lot of folks that chose to stay put, obviously not get in large gatherings and those types of things. I think those folks that have been vaccinated and have kind of moved on from that situation now are moving around a lot more. We are seeing fairly substantial loads going out of here.
Stockham says the biggest issue travelers may face isn't at the Joplin airport, but at the many hubs Joplin flies to, like Chicago and Denver. I
would suggest staying inside security and not going outside, because trying to rescreen and get back into security is going to be difficult, especially at some of the major hubs.
The biggest thing he recommends for all travelers to have this holiday season is patience.
You're going to have to be prepared to wait in some of those instances, and I just suggest everyone to be as patient as possible.
In Joplin, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
The airport's manager also stresses the importance of making travel plans in advance, as flights at the Joplin Regional Airport are already booked through Sunday. The nominations for the 2022 Grammy Awards are announced. 11 seems to be a special number for musician Jon Batiste. That's how many Grammy noms The band leader for The Late Show with Stephen Colbert has 11. In a tweet, he says that could be a lucky number for him since his birthday is November 11th, the 11th day of the 11th month. Olivia Rodrigo has nods in the 4 top categories, including Record of the Year and Best New Artist. It's been a big year for her, also serving as a COVID vaccine ambassador at the White House. Other entertainers with multiple nominations include Justin Bieber, Billie Eilish, the Foo Fighters, and Sir Paul McCartney. What an interesting combination. The Grammys are scheduled for January 31st. They'll be broadcast live right here on KOAM and will stream live and on demand on Paramount Plus.
Tanya and the audience, please forgive my ignorance. Do we know, so were there nominations? That's the video I wanted to reference this right there. Did they do nominations at the White House press room podium? Maybe they did. I don't know. Like, I'm dead serious. It threw me for a loop when I saw where she was.
I'd already left today when they did it, so.
Then I realized it wasn't Jen Psaki at the podium, and so maybe they did. I don't know. I just thought that was a weird background there for a second.
Yeah. Or is it because she's a White House ambassador?
That could, no, I don't know.
That could be just random video of her, why they are showing that shot.
So, just telling my kids, about, life's about experiences, right? It doesn't matter, wow, Hazel's just going to pontificate here on Thanksgiving, or the day before Thanksgiving. We're doing Thanksgiving here at the station, folks. Maybe that's why I'm being reflective. Life's about experiences. It doesn't matter, like, where you go to school, what you do, blah, blah, blah. Life's about what you experience. And so I'm telling my kids, as you go through life, go to concerts. Go to concerts, experience things, right? I saw Foo Fighters as an opening band. This is no joke. They were an opener.
Nice.
Isn't that something else? You know what else I saw?
Who they opened for, or do you remember?
Everclear.
Nice.
Do you know who was the opening act before that? Some little small band called, they were from Orange County, California. They went by, No Doubt. They had this front woman called Gwen Stefani. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what she did with her life.
I saw John Mayer opening for the Counting Crows.
3 years ago, Maren Morris saw her open at a state fair. Me and 36 of my closest friends.
Nice.
That was all. And we're all sitting there, never heard of her. We're all sitting there going, this young woman sounds amazing. Now my kids come home and they're listening to her on Spotify. And I'm like, yeah, I saw that. I can't believe the story on the Grammys just got us down that rabbit hole. My apologies, folks. But it's beautiful outside.
We could just do a music.
music's
that'll be another
other than
segment.
the control room yelling at me, get on with it. Get on with it. What did Friends just call me? Papa Hayslip. That's what he called me. I'm glad you enjoyed that one.
I hate to hear what they call me.
Much.
No.
No, it is. It is. That's what Carenza calls me too. I get it. Wind tracker coming in from I love it, guys. I do. Wind tracker with we're talking anywhere from 25 miles per hour sustained winds, gusting up to 40 miles per hour. We'll make it up into the 60s. We have absolutely no travel concerns. If you're going locally, if you're going regionally, if you are going to an airport and traveling nationally, Mother Nature is on our side today. Now, yeah, we're going to get some rain. It's going to be late tonight, probably start about 8, 9 o'clock, but it's done by 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. A little bit cooler on Thursday, that's for sure. If you have those family traditions that take you outside, know that it's going to be only around 46, 47 degrees. And if you're going Black Friday shopping and you're going to stand in line, definitely multi-layer, because we'll be below the freezing point from Thursday night into Friday morning.
All right, up next, we'll bring you back into the KOAM studios for more Thanksgiving recipes. Well, we're doing it on the interview set. There you go. But first, a report out of New York University that says a popular hepatitis treatment may also work to increase the effectiveness of antibiotics. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. COVID is causing many people to skip doctor's visits, and there's a new drug that may help prevent antibiotic resistance. Michael George has a look at the day's top health stories.
1 in 5 people ignored healthcare issues during the pandemic, even skipping treatment for potentially urgent symptoms like chest pain and heart palpitations. That's the finding of a new study of people 40 and older published in PLOS Medicine. Fear of contracting COVID was a factor in why people avoided the doctor. Researchers found those most likely to neglect health problems were women, people with poor health, and those suffering from depression and anxiety. Researchers say they found a new link between obesity and diabetes and the risk of developing breast cancer. A report in the Boston University School of Medicine shows a type of vesicle in the body called exosomes make breast cancer more severe and more resistant to treatment. The findings could help doctors better treat breast cancer and reduce the risk for patients who are obese or suffer from type 2 diabetes. Doctors say a popular treatment for hepatitis could also increase the effectiveness of antibiotics. A New York University study says the drug telaprevir not only made bacteria more sensitive to antibiotics, it also limited antibiotic resistance. Antibiotic resistance among patients is a worldwide health crisis, making it more difficult to treat many different diseases. Those are some of the day's top health stories. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Flu outbreaks are already popping up in some parts of the country, just as the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issues a report about the impact a severe flu season may have on our already vulnerable healthcare systems. Jen Sullivan shows us why experts are warning that this flu season may be worse than last year's.
Flu season may be getting underway, and health experts are concerned about the spread of the virus this year.
It's very possible we'll experience a more severe flu season than we did last year. Many experts are predicting that.
Family doctor Jennifer Cottle says the flu is back after essentially taking a break last season, when COVID-19 put a bigger emphasis on public health measures like hand washing, mask use, and social distancing, which helped keep flu activity low. The CDC recommends the flu vaccine for all people 6 months or older and says that it is safe to receive both the COVID-19 vaccine and the flu vaccine at the same time.
If you can do it conveniently in one visit. So whatever it takes to get both of them, go ahead and do it. If it's one visit, it's perfectly fine.
We're already seeing clusters of cases popping up in different parts of the country. Last week, the CDC confirmed it's helping investigate an outbreak of more than 500 flu cases among students at the University of Michigan. That's the biggest single outbreak so far. Experts say the misconception that the flu shot makes people sick often keeps them from getting it.
If you don't feel well after the vaccine, sometimes it's merely our response to the vaccine. And also remember, it takes about 2 weeks for the flu shot to actually develop protectiveness in our body.
Meanwhile, a recent report from the CDC shows influenza viruses may pose a risk to healthcare systems already overburdened by the coronavirus pandemic.
The last thing we need is for there to be even more burden on the healthcare system and people getting further ill.
For today's Health Minute, I'm Jen Sullivan.
The flu is estimated to cause about 710,000 hospitalizations and up to 61,000 deaths each year in the U.S. Experts say flu season typically peaks between December and February, but it can continue through May. The Winter Olympic and Paralympic Village of Beijing 2022 and the Zhangjiakou competition zone in North China's Hebei province held its lighting ceremony on Tuesday. That was a long intro. Orange and blue lights illuminated the village, featuring the Olympic rings at the ceremony, which also marked the first regular electrical load test. Super cool. The test involved all areas of the village, particularly the 31 buildings for accommodating the athletes and the 22 commercial zones.
You know, I was thinking about the other day, I'm a sports geek. I have a hard time just getting excited for the Winter Olympics this year. And maybe it's like pandemic hangover. I find myself with a number of events anymore.
What's the sweep? Is it the sweeping sport?
Curling.
The sweeping sport. Yeah, curling. Like it's just so fun to watch it. Like it just seems so silly.
So
it's a serious sport.
I will say this much. I am jacked up this year, women's ice hockey.
Ice hockey.
Yeah, coming off of that, to me, that overtime win against Canada for the gold, that was an iconic Olympic moment. And I am looking forward to hockey this year. Okay, guess not everybody was as engaged in that as I was. Nerd alert!
But then, of course, you have all the controversy that's going on in China right now with the tennis star.
Right. Yeah, trust me, this is not going to be the last Olympic story we do when it comes to politics.
Yeah.
Things are going to get worse before it gets better.
They're like, let's light up the Olympic Village and not talk about that.
Right. Yeah, no, that's exactly what you do.
That's what they're
I'm saying
doing.
this from a former PR standpoint. You go, no, it's pretty.
But you have to admit, look at that. That's really cool.
I'm not saying it's not cool. I'm just saying there's other things to talk about. I'm with you. I'm siding with you. We're agreeing on this.
Yeah.
Speaking of what's cool, the glow cloud.
Always, and a very important part of our life. I'm
Great
thankful
point.
for you, Glow
You just
Cloud.
pulled children's science fun fact on me.
I'm very thankful for you, Glow Cloud.
That's great. Yeah, it's
You keep us warm, even if the studio is
just a gorgeous
32
morning.
degrees.
Look at that. I mean, it's 7th and range line. Bustling, of course, with the travel. It's going to be going on here for, not only the next 48 hours, but all the way into the weekend. You watch the wind if you're traveling east-west, because the wind's coming in from the south. Now, Tanya said she was out on Highway 400 yesterday and really didn't have any trouble, so that was great news. But we are going to still be around 20 to 25 miles per hour for most of our morning and afternoon. Still very delightful outside. Temperatures already in the mid-50s, and even with the little cloud cover that we have, no precipitation to speak of. The rain really won't start until, say, post-sunset. We'll get started around 8, 9 o'clock. And then as it rolls through, nothing heavy, nothing severe. If you get half an inch of accumulation, that's probably on the high side. And then we clear off for Thursday. So Thanksgiving is going to be a tad bit chilly, only in the 40s. And then if you're Black Friday shopping, Thursday night into Friday morning, and you know you're going to have to stand in line, make sure you bundle up because we will be below the freezing mark. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back. Corinza is joining us again for our dessert segment of our KOAM Morning Show Feast. And we have two, I'm so excited to try these. Okay, so what did you bring this morning?
I brought a Reese's pie actually, so there we go. It's a Reese's pie.
Looks delicious. And I brought a pumpkin butterscotch cake. Do you want to talk about yours first real quick?
Sure. So basically, my Reese's pie here, it is a cream cheese based pie. You put peanut butter and cream cheese and sugar in a bowl, and then mix it together with your mixer. And so I cheated on my pie a little bit, not gonna lie. The recipe called for heavy whipping cream. I used whipped cream. It turned out fine. So I cheated. It's gonna be a little lazy.
It's all right.
And then you mix in a cup of crushed Oreos. I broke up my hand and eyed it just because you're never gonna have too many Reese's. And then I put a little bit of hot fudge sauce on the bottom of my pie, like instructed, and then I put it in together and let it sit in the fridge overnight. And that is what my pie looked like, because it does not look like that right now. This is what it looked like this morning, actually.
It looks pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can tell how it's set up. If we cut a piece out of it, you can cut how it's actually set up in there.
Yeah, so the whipped cream kind of fell down in comparison this morning, so I wanted to do it before and after.
Yeah, we had to put it in our fridge. There's a lot of stuff in there. Okay, so I made a pumpkin butterscotch cake. It starts off with a box of white cake mix. You need 1 tablespoon of pumpkin pie spice and 1 15-ounce can of pumpkin, pure pumpkin, not the pumpkin pie filling. So you're gonna mix all of those together in a large mixing bowl, and then you're gonna put that in the bottom of your cake pan. And the next step is to, in another mixing bowl, do 4 ounces of cream cheese softened, 1 cup of powdered sugar, confectioner's sugar, and a half a stick of butter melted, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and a cup of butterscotch chips. We went a little heavy on the butterscotch this morning, we chose to. And then you put that, you dollop those on top, and then let it, it just kind of blends into it. It's gonna give it like more of a runnier texture than your traditional cake.
Good.
But we each got forks, and we're gonna try each other's desserts. Because why not have dessert before you eat your turkey?
Exactly.
Because we can.
Yeah. That's good.
Yummy.
Very good.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, it's a little heavy on chocolate and it's a little sweet. But
No, it's good. I taste the peanut butter taste to it,
Yeah.
so really good.
Yeah, I taste that butterscotch. Oh, that is fantastic, Tanya.
Okay, and later this morning, we'll have these recipes on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. We still have a green bean casserole that we're going to... You cannot have a Thanksgiving dinner without the green bean casserole.
That's my favorite
Don't
dish,
worry, we
hands
haven't
down.
forgot it, and it's coming up in just a few segments. We'll be right back. It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Tech Sergeant Gene Thompson in the U.S. Army. The soldier hails from Joplin, Missouri. He served in Korea from 1951 to 1953, earning 2 Bronze Stars and the Purple Heart. To Tech Sergeant Gene Thompson, we thank you, today's four-state hero. Well, emotions were high as about 150 Iowa National Guard members were welcomed back to Des Moines on Tuesday. Members from Knoxville and Camp Dodge were deployed back in February. Cynthia Fedor spoke to soldiers who said they're thankful to be home for the holidays.
Waiting is the hardest part. The National Guard soldiers march in formation, scanning faces to find families, happy to have their boots on the ground back home.
I challenged you when you left on a cold February day earlier this year to take care of each other, do your job every day, and come home better than what you left. From all metrics I've seen, you've done exactly that.
Jessica Dewey held on to her baby boy, meeting his dad for the very first time.
And he has not seen his father until this moment.
No, this is the first time.
And what's going through your mind?
A lot of emotions.
You've been waiting for this day, I imagine.
Oh, yes.
Finally, they are free to find the arms they've been waiting for. A long kiss after a long time apart. Jeffrey Bennett hasn't seen his adorable twin daughters since they were 2 months old.
It's almost like I'm a father again for the first time, so it's definitely going to take some time getting used to, that's for sure.
And mothers relieved
That's very heavy. I can't believe he carries it.
to take the heavy load off their son's back.
I'm overwhelmed. He's home finally. I'm just, it's the most amazing thing.
How hard was the deployment?
A lot harder than I expected it to be, that's for sure. Luckily, I had a really strong lady back home holding the fort down for me, so she did awesome while I was gone.
This is great. People really need to honor these men and women. I don't think we do it enough, but not just because I'm mom, just because it's just so overwhelming.
Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, we'll bring you back inside the KOAM studio one more time for some more Thanksgiving recipe ideas. And KOAM's Chris Warner tells us about the staffing difficulties local law enforcement has dealt with for years and what can be done to fix the problem. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
State's most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:33. Let's take a look at today's top stories. The Jasper County Administrator's Angel Tree is now up at the courthouse. The Angel Tree is decorated with the names of area disabled adults who do not have a lot of money. And the way it works is you pick a name off the tree and then you buy gifts based off the list that is provided.
They're all adults. They're all residents of Jasper County. And these folks don't have any money or family that will provide Christmas for them. So we make sure and do that every year. We try to get everyone adopted so that everyone has something to open on Christmas morning.
Carthage Courthouse is in the middle of the square on Grant Street. U.S. Representative from Kansas, Jake LaTurner, hosted a town hall yesterday in Pittsburgh. It was a chance for residents to ask him questions about what's happening in Washington and how he plans to handle certain issues. We asked him how he feels about the spending proposals currently going through Congress.
Kansas families are feeling the effects of this economy with inflation, supply chain issues, workforce issues. We need to be addressing these concerns in Washington, D.C., not spending money that we're borrowing from China and imposing these new taxes and new regulations. The spending in Washington, D.C. is out of control, and we have to do everything we can to stop it.
LaTurner says he plans to do a town hall this week in all of our area counties who he represents. An area church is loaning out medical equipment to people in need. When someone gets hurt and needs equipment like crutches or a walking boot, they often have to buy it, even if they only need it temporarily. So the Grace Baptist Church in Joplin started the Medical Loan Closet. It's a way for people in need of durable equipment to get it for free.
I'm an RN by day, and I could see that there was a need where people needed things but didn't meet the requirements for insurance to cover it. And then on the same hand, there was just as many people who didn't know what to do with stuff when they no longer needed it.
All of the items in the closet are donations, which the church cleans and repairs before loaning it out. A lot of businesses are struggling to find new employees right now, but for at least one group, it's nothing new. Some local law enforcement agencies have faced recruiting issues for years. KOAM's Chris Warner tells us what they're up against and what they're doing to try to bring more officers in.
We spoke with 3 law enforcement agencies in Jasper County about recruiting and retaining officers. Captain Will Davis with the Joplin Police Department says they have 7 new recruits in the Law Enforcement Academy now, but it's still not enough.
We're still 13 positions short here at the police department, and that's just the attrition that we've seen over the last several years.
In Jasper County, they're facing similar issues.
It could always be better. It's a constant revolving door of trying to get employees to come and want to work in law enforcement.
The Carthage Police Department, on the other hand, is seeing the opposite.
We've been very fortunate at this department by maintaining good retention of our employees. We do recruiting on occasion. That's really just to make sure our name is still out there and giving recruits and people that are interested in law enforcement an idea of what Carthage Police Department is about.
For the departments facing staffing issues, they're working on getting creative and offering programs and incentives to recruits.
We will hire a person on and send them to the academy, and we'll pay for those academy costs, whereas any other individual may have to pay that out of pocket if they send themselves to the academy.
Davis says there's an extra perk to that as well.
And also, as you're going through class, you're an employee, so you're earning a paycheck while you're sitting in class, learning and being trained to be a police officer.
In Jasper County, they have the benefit of the jail for those who may be interested in joining the force.
At 18 years old, someone can work at the detention center, find out if law enforcement is even the field that they want to work in.
Teed says they also offer scholarship opportunities to those people to get into the academy. In Jasper County, Chris Warner, KOAM News.
Both Joplin and Jasper County are actively searching for officers and deputies. If you're interested in a law enforcement career, you can reach out to either agency to get more information. A rare Einstein Manuscript has sold for more than $13 million. Christie's Paris held the sale for a Goody's auction house. I'm saying that wrong, I'm sorry. Christie said in a statement on Tuesday the manuscript detailed a key stage in the development of Einstein's theory of relativity. On its website, Christie's calls the theory one of the single most important ideas in modern science. No argument here. Manuscript is 54 pages, written by both Einstein and Swiss engineer Michel Bessot. It's considered a valuable record of Einstein's relationship with Bessot.
So I went down the Schrodinger wormhole a couple weeks ago, which obviously had a lot to do with Einstein and whatnot. That's pretty cool.
So
right
this
there,
document that they
finally.
wrote together is a piece that led up to this theory.
Right, that's amazing. That is awesome right there. All right, live look outside of Television City, and then as we transition to 7th and Rangeline, I'll tell you what, before we get to our current conditions, let's back up just a little bit. You won't talk about, and I say, I'm not being demeaning when I say this. We flyover country, right? So look at all the contrails right there. I was outside in the break room because Tanya's Tanya is letting us prepare a Thanksgiving meal. And I walked outside having us, made it sound like you were demanding it, and that's not the case at all. I walked outside, there were about 7 contrails over us. I mean, the planes are about here, there, and everywhere this morning. an idea that a lot of you are out and about on the road. But for those of you joining us here on Fox 14, just know it's going to be windy, but it's also going to be warm. We're going to make it up into the mid-60s later on this afternoon. And that rain that you see in the forecast, that is not until after sunset, and we're done early Thursday morning. It's going to be chilly on Thursday, that's for sure. And remember, Black Friday shoppers, bundle up down below freezing, but then right back into the 60s and high 50s for the weekend. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
More ways. Unruly passengers prepare to pay up. The Federal Aviation Administration just announced fines it's levied against disruptive passengers. The agency says just 8 passengers face fines totaling $161,000. That's the third highest total since the FAA enacted its zero tolerance policy. One of the passengers accounts for a quarter of the total. Wow. Newest set of fines comes as the airline industry prepares to handle an estimated 20 million travelers over the Thanksgiving holiday. Hey, let's all be nice. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
So this is terrible because like everybody's come on, they've talked about their great recipes and everything looks so good. This is between you and me, okay? What's the control room going to do when they find out that I forgot the turkey? Sue. Well, Thanksgiving drama at Fox 14, it sounds like. We're like any normal family. Video game Resident Evil. It's going to head to theaters on Wednesday. And oh, by the way, anything with Mila Jovovich, the wise one, and I were going to watch it no matter what it looked like. Our man, Rick Demigella, has a story.
Every story has a beginning.
The origins of the Resident Evil movieverse are explored in Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
Umbrella, they had an incident. I'm talking Chernobyl, if you know what I mean. People are getting sick.
Based on the Capcom video game series, Raccoon City reboots the film franchise, which has made over $1.2 billion globally from the previous 6 entries.
Being gamers of this franchise, you recognize the responsibility and you recognize the passion, and there's something very exciting about being a fan of that and then making a movie that you know is going to be for the fans of the game.
And I'm part of that passionate fan base. It was super cool. I grew up playing the games. I'm seeing all the movies. It was a bit of a dream come true out of nowhere for me.
And there's obviously a huge responsibility that goes with that. It can be quite intimidating, knowing that people have a very clear image in their mind of what they want from it and what they expect. But I also think that it's a real honor to get to make something that already has a built-in fan base.
Hey, you need help? You need help.
In Hollywood, I'm Rick Damigella.
I guess the question I was asking Carrie, our camera operator, does the original Resident Evil still stand up? I don't know if, I don't want to say kids, but if teenagers, young adults would find the original Resident Evil like a neat movie anymore. I did. Cat Ballou. I wonder if Cat Ballou holds the test of time. Shout out to Lee Marvin right there. Current conditions over 7th and Rangeline. We had a great shot of a bird that was flying through and, timing everything when it comes to life and live television. It just departed our camera shot, but it was certainly interesting because it almost looked like it was standing still trying to fight a southerly wind coming in at 28 miles per hour and gusting at 40 miles per hour. Let's kind of work backwards here. A 7-day forecast, it'll send us up into the 60s today, and a cold front for tomorrow. Now you see those rain chances on Wednesday? Well, we've got the majority of the day. If you're traveling through, you're going to be pretty good to go because there we are all afternoon and evening long. We finally begin to develop between 8 and 9 o'clock. And really the majority of the hard rain, well, that's going to be from about 9 to say 4 a.m. And then we're done. Now, for those of you that are going to be out Black Friday shopping, remember, we're going to dip below the freezing mark as that cold front comes in on the backside of the rain. But setting up for a great weekend, so absolutely no travel concerns for our holiday. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. More charges are expected after the man suspected of plowing his SUV into a Christmas parade in Wisconsin makes his first court appearance. 39-year-old Daryl Brooks will face 6 counts of intentional homicide following the death of another victim, an 8-year-old boy. More than 60 people were injured. His bail was set at $5 million. Today is expected to be a busy day in the sky, on the roads, and on the rails for Thanksgiving holiday travel. It's traditionally one of the busiest of the year. AAA estimates more than 53 million Americans will travel this year for the holiday. Jurors deciding the fate of 3 men charged with murdering Ahmaud Arbery will resume their deliberations this morning. Gregory McMichael, Travis McMichael, and William Roddy Bryant are charged with malice and felony murder. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
The Fifth Element. That's the one that I was struggling. Yeah, The Fifth Element. I don't know why that popped in my head. Anyway, temperatures today up into the 60s. Remember, it's going to be very, very windy, but if you're out and about traveling, precipitation will not be a factor until we get to later tonight into early Thursday morning, clearing that off by the time we get to sunrise for Thanksgiving. Cool. That is for sure for tomorrow's holiday, and overnight lows dropping below the freezing mark for Thursday into Friday.
All right, it's time to sing praises about a device that helps bring music into our lives. Wednesday is National Jukebox Day.
Well, of course.
Of course, they've been a mainstay at bars and restaurants for decades, but the jukebox has been around for more than a century, making its debut in 1889 when Lewis Glass and William S. Arnold came up with the nickel in the slot phonograph. The jukebox has advanced over time, and there's a chance you'll see one when you visit a local bar.
Establishment.
Yeah.
Family friendly.
Well, and now they've got those that you can get on. You can log on to the jukebox on your phone, and you pay to
you know
play.
What? You're my jukebox hero. Be back with more news and weather at noon.
Deck your feet with